Section 2 of Brief Diversions by J.B. Priestley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Anthony Ogus. The humiliating experience of a forgotten god. The great Babylonian god Marduk, revisiting the earth in the guise of a young man, fell in love with a girl in the silk department of the Universal Stores. Her name was Lena. "O moon-faced one, O white flower of the world, I adore thee," Marduk whispered. "Thou hast the look of Sarpanitum, the leopard-eyed goddess, in days of old, when the stars were young and kind." "Well, well," cried Lena, "what will you do to please me?" "I will rebuild Babylon in an hour for thee," shouted the god, and away he sped to the great silent plain, where he laboured mightily. In a short space of time he returned and wafted her away to the scene of his labouring. "Look, look!" he cried, and waved his hand. And there was Babylon, the mighty city of splendour and dream, shimmering and glittering, the wonder of the world. There were the great gates, the towering palaces, the hanging gardens, as of old. "Well?" And Marduk turned to her eagerly when she had gazed her fill, and wiped his forehead, for even he sweated from his vast labours. Lena looked at him. "Yes, it's very nice," she said. How the rational amusements of the great are limited. Before your time, 2 mummers and a Unitarian were seated in a tavern playing cards, when a long sallow-faced man dressed in black joined them and asked if he might have a game. He was received cordially, and whist was proposed, the civilisation of the world not having arrived at bridge at that time. The Unitarian dealt out the cards, and the man in black sorted and scrutinised his hand in the manner of one who takes a keen interest in the game. "By the way, what are trumps?" he asked. "Hearts," replied one of the mummers. "Hearts, hearts, red hearts," screamed the man in black, springing to his feet and spilling his cards in anger. "How the myself can I play with hearts as trumps? Any other suit would have done splendidly." And with a loud cry he jumped through the floor, and as he went the others caught a glimpse, through the crack, of flames curling and leaping. It is not recorded whether the Unitarian was the more surprised, or the 2 mummers. The imprudence of a politician in travelling further than the newspapers. The Member of Parliament for West Churchling had walked far, and, losing his way in the darkness, came to the World's End. There he spied the hostel, where, round a bright fire, were seated the 3 watchers, Arshel of the twisted nose, Zenoa of the bright hair, and the other whose name I can never remember. They gave him greeting, and he sat down and warmed his hands by the fire. Presently Arshel turned to him and said, "Sing us a song." The Member of Parliament said with dignity, "I cannot sing." The 3 watchers sighed and looked at him reproachfully. "Then dance for us," said Zenoa, picking up a little pipe. "I cannot dance," returned the Member of Parliament sadly. The 3 watchers sighed more deeply. "Then tell us a tale," said the one whose name I can never remember. The politician pondered for a moment, then began, "At the last general election it was decided that our party should appeal to the country to support those studied and careful reforms necessary from time to time in an enlightened community like ours. Questions of tariff, extension of the franchise, disestablishment of the church, free commercial education for the masses, were to be the pillars by which our party should stand or fall, I myself—" "It is too long," cried Arshel. "It is a poor tale," cried Zenoa. "It is the worst tale I ever heard," cried the one whose name I can never remember, "and you are no company for us." So they thrust the member of Parliament for West Churchling out into the cold night. The Wrong World. One Saturday night, not many years ago, there was a great crowd at the end of Toston Street, Littlebury. Now then, what's all this about?" cried a policeman, shouldering his way through the curious throng. In the centre of the crowd was a small cleared space, in which was seated, on the edge of the pavement, a strange being with dark blue hair and greenish tinted skin. "Now then," said the policeman, pulling out his notebook, "what's all this?" The strange being, on whom the gift of tongues must have descended, looked up and said, "Where am I?" "Come on, what's the game, eh? Who are you, eh? What you doing here?" roared the policeman, his surprise making him more truculent than usual. The strange being made no reply, but stared at the policeman, and then looked gravely at the curious jostling crowd. I know," he cried triumphantly, springing to his feet. "I'm on, just a minute, I'll remember, somewhere in the solar system. I've got it. The Earth. That's it, the Earth. The fools, giving me the wrong directions. I want Morcus in the lunar system, the other side of Pleiades. Fancy striking this place again. I've been on the Earth before. I was murdered here for speaking the truth 10,000 years ago. Bah!" With that he disappeared, to the great astonishment of all present. The value of a new point of view. Sailing westward from the island of Fata Morgana, I came upon Piero in his little white boat. We were old acquaintances, and I asked him if the gods were still using him kindly, and how things were looking on the moon, his home. "I have been away from home for some time," he replied, "but I am just about to return. Will you come with me?" So I clambered into his little boat, and told my own ship to return to the island of Fata Morgana. We sailed on and on, Piero enlivening the dim hours with his strange moon songs, until at last he brought the boat to anchor in a little bay, and I landed for the first time at the pale country of the moon. "You know," I said to Piero as we wandered among the fantastic green shadows, "I have always longed to visit the moon. The world is so dull now, and the moon always seemed to us such a mad and merry place." Piero stared. "That is very strange. Up here we have always believed the reverse of that, and with good reason. Look for yourself." And he led me to the edge of the moon. We peered over, and there, far below, was the great shining world, looking as big as 10 moons, and 100 times madder and merrier. "Piero," I cried, "I have misjudged the world. Goodbye, my friend." And I leapt into space. I landed on the roof of the headquarters of the Society for the Extension of Commercial Careers for Women. The uninvited guest. A certain rich man, having discovered a new method of adulterating milk for babies, determined to celebrate his increase of fortune by giving a wonderful fancy dress ball and masked carnival. When the evening came, the scene was a very brilliant one, the masks and costumes being of a most varied and extravagant character. About midnight a new figure was noticed moving slowly among the crowd, a tall figure, dressed in a long black cloak with a cowl, which overshadowed a grinning, ghastly death's head. This extraordinary costume caused much comment. Some of the more timid guests objected to it, but the majority found it entertaining, and wondered who the wearer might be. At 1 o'clock prizes were to be given for the best costumes. Amid general applause, the master of the ceremonies handed the first prize to a lady dressed as Madame de Pompadour. He then cried loudly, "The second prize goes to the gentleman who has come in the character of Death." All eyes were turned upon the strange figure, which stepped forward and said in a loud voice, "I cannot accept the prize. I have won too many prizes." This occasioned some remark, but the prize was given elsewhere, and in a few minutes the distribution was at an end. Then the master gave the signal for all masks to be removed, and the guests regarded each other with flushed and happy faces. There was one exception, however, and the master called loudly to Death's Head, who stood somewhat apart from the rest, "Sir, remove your mask." The figure pulled back the cowl, exposing its horrible grinning head to the light, then turned slowly as if to survey every person in the room. "I wear no mask," it said simply. End of section 2.